guys, it's Lynn with Little Foot Nursery. I am in my Christmas pajamas once again. They're just so comfortable. And I'm here with baby Noah. Noah is the GabyGail sculpt by Claire Taylor, and he is a cloth partial silicone. He has a cloth body and silicone limbs and head. And I haven't done a changing video with him in a little while, so I thought I would do a changing video and also chat on a topic. And the topic is, just advice for how to sell your silicone babies. One of my viewers private messaged me and was asking me just, for any advice or help in selling her baby. I think it's, I'm not the best person to talk on the subject of selling silicones because I've really only sold one, and that's my Millie, my Olive Sculpt by Sandy Faber. So that's the only one I've actually sold, but I have watched a lot of people buy and sell in the community, and just from things that I've noticed, I thought I would go ahead and share. And so yeah, and we'll go ahead and get Noah changed. And I've just been so busy at work. I have not had as much time to play with my babies in general. And so, he's one that I've been thinking about whether I want to sell or not. I'm a little reluctant because I know that he's really, from my perspective, one of Claire Taylor's most beautiful sculpts that she's ever done. And I really do love this baby, but I think for me it's mainly, I'm trying to think through space constraints, and there are a couple of new dolls coming out, silicones that I do have my eye on, so I may have to make that difficult decision to let them go, but I'm not quite there yet, but I thought I'd go ahead and let me just chat about this topic, and we can, I'll let you guys know about Noah later. There is actually already a potential mommy who is very interested in him, but but if you are interested in him as well, if I do decide to sell him, I might not even make a video to do it. I just might contact that one. I would plan to just contact the one lady, and if she doesn't want him, then I would just kind of go next down the list. So anyway, I think that's the most fair way to do it. But yeah, so so my advice for selling silicone babies. First off, you need to know all the details about your doll that you can. It's ideal if you know details, obviously information like who is the artist. Oh my goodness, this baby is so cute. He's adorable. Like, who's the artist that sculpted the doll? I know some of this stuff sounds so basic, but sometimes I see silicone doll postings and there's like no artist listed, there's like no information. You should measure how long the doll is. You should also measure how much the doll weighs. And then some other things that I would also do is, maybe mention as well, like what size clothing the doll wears. I personally like listings that say, okay, like I'm the first mommy or I'm the second mommy. I think that's important. It could be like I bought her straight from the artist on such and such date, and that way you know how old the doll is. And then and you also know if the doll has had multiple mommies or not. And having multiple mommies doesn't mean that the doll is in worse shape, but it can mean that. So you do just want to really make sure, if you're a seller of the doll, just make sure you're providing really good photos, a variety of photos up close, and then also including a safety photo. And for those of you guys who are new to this hobby and don't know what a safety photo is, it's basically a picture of the doll with a piece of paper over it that has your name, the date, and your name and the date to basically show that you have the doll in your possession. So that's what a safety photo is. And so I think all of those things are important because silicone dolls, it's a little different than selling. I mean, with selling, all these things can really apply to selling reborns as well, but I feel like with silicones, the thing that's hard is the price tag is really high. So most people, you know, for a doll that's going to cost several $1,000s, they need, a lot of them will need some kind of payment plan. So you'll need to also specify in your listing whether you're willing to accept layaway and over what period of how many months. So I just find the listings that are well written and have the most details, I think those tend to do better. And I definitely would recommend listing the doll on Dollfan, because a lot of the very serious collectors are members of Dollfan, and they will, you know, they will check. I think that Silicone for Sale section is pretty active. There are also Silicone Facebook groups as well. But the nice thing about Dollfan that I really, really like is that you can actually see reviews of the seller and the buyer, which is really, really nice. And that's a good way to like build up trust and build up your reputation. So if you're a seller and, so if you're a seller and you have like 100 positive reviews, if I'm a buyer and I see that, that just gives me a lot more confidence to purchase from you. Confidence that it's going to be a smooth transaction. I don't have to worry about being scammed if this person has a really strong reputation in the doll community. And so, hold on guys, I'm going to take a quick pause here and just cuddle Noah. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Okay, and now as I'm holding him, I'm like a little reluctant to let him go. So, you know, I don't know. I'm definitely not decided yet on this one. I really do like him. He's just a beautiful doll. But yeah, and he's so real. He's so realistic looking. It's like he really looks incredibly real. And he's my only cloth body baby left too. So what to do. Anyway, so back to selling tips. Yeah, I just can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a well-written listing. If yeah, I feel like, you know, and it's one of those things like use proper grammar, you know, write in complete sentences, you know, that sort of thing, and just yeah, and I think you can tell a lot about a seller by how they write the listing, and if they took care in writing the listing. You know, to me, it might also extend to how they handle and treat their dolls. I know that's maybe not a fair assumption, but I think that these things all kind of form an impression of whether this is somebody that you want to deal with. The other thing too is before you list a doll for sale, you need to be prepared to be bombarded with responses. So, and you need to be quick in responding to those, you know, to those potential buyers who contact you. So I would hold off on listing a doll, you know, if you're in a period of time that's just like really, really busy. If you're not going to be able to get back to people, I think people will get frustrated and they'll decide not to deal with you. So that's extremely important to really just make sure that that you respond quickly, be prepared to answer a lot of questions. That's all very important. And also come up with a you know, something that you think is fair if multiple people inquire at the same time wanting the doll. And maybe the most fair thing might just be first come, first serve, and you just go down the list and you give each person 24 hours to pay and then move on to the next person on the list. And I think that's more than fair, because especially when there are multiple people involved. So so I'll tell you guys the story of how I acquired Noah. I did acquire Noah from Dollfan. A lovely, lovely mommy, and it's not like she had, you know, hundreds of, you know, positive feedbacks or anything, but she did have quite a few that were positive. Maybe it might have been around 10 or a dozen. I might not be remembering this correct, but or maybe it was 15 positive feedbacks, but it was she had enough where I felt comfortable, and I inquired, and then she actually, there were several people who also inquired about Noah at the same time. And she was not doing it based on first come, first serve, but I think probably a combination of the reputation of the buyer and then also who could pay the quickest and who could pay in full versus needing a long layaway. Because if you're trying to sell a doll, you know, chances are you need the funds right now. So it's less appealing or less attractive if the buyer needs to, say, split the payment over a 5 or 6 month period. It's just a long time to wait for payment in full and a long time before you can ship the doll out. And I find that those kind of layaway situations are also a little bit tricky because for example, as the doll's being paid down, and this is what I did with Indy. I packed her up in a blanket and I just put her aside. And basically from that point, she was not my doll. I wasn't going to play with her, dress her, handle her, or anything, because she, in my eyes, belonged to somebody else. And so, and that's what I would do, with a layaway situation. I think that's the fair thing, because if you start interacting with that doll, dressing it, playing with it, you may just start to get attached again, and it may be very hard to let that doll go. So that would be my recommendation: out of sight, out of mind. So yeah, but I think that it's really important, this anyway. I know I'm getting off topic a little bit, but anyway, I got Noah, and I wasn't able to pay the full amount like immediately, but I was able to pay like half, and I told her I had to transfer some money from my savings account, and that would just take a few days, and I could pay the other half in just a few days. So we ended up working it out, and it worked out great. And she also wanted to be paid friends and family, so I did agree to that. Because she did have a strong reputation on Dolphin, and just a strong, good reputation in the community. That I also bought my Maggie that way. But I don't think as a seller that it's that you should expect that a buyer will feel comfortable to pay friends and family. It's something that is very risky for them, and so. So what I'm planning to do now, just kind of going forward, is I'm expecting I'll get paid in goods and services, and I might need to mark the doll up just a little bit to cover my fees, which I think is also fair. Some sellers also offer a different price. For example, if you do decide to go friends and family, they'll give you a discount, and I think that's another fair way to approach it. I have no issue with that at all. And then it's really up to the buyer to decide what they want to do. In terms of other selling tips, you need to think about your audience. So I wouldn't just advertise on Dolphin. I would advertise on Facebook groups. If you have a doll Facebook page, advertise there. If you have a YouTube channel, post a video. I think a lot of us on YouTube have really good luck selling our babies, probably compared to those who post only through the online forums, because we have naturally our own audience that's watching the videos and coming back for more content on a regular basis. So I do think that does help. I feel like Noah, like I've done videos of Noah over the past year, and people, there are a lot of people who are fans of him and really love this baby, and so I feel like I wouldn't have any trouble at all selling him if the time came, just because I do have that exposure, to people who are seeing him on video. So that's another really positive thing about having a YouTube channel, is just having, having kind of that market reach, I guess, and getting that exposure. And the other thing that's nice about it is, over the course of like the last, I guess, year and a half, I've been making these videos very consistently. At one point I was putting out daily videos. You guys have gotten to know me, and I've met quite a few of you guys at the doll shows, so I'm a nice and cool and genuine and honest person, so it's just not so I think it just helps you to know a little bit more about who you're working with, who you're dealing with, and you get a sense of somebody from their videos, definitely, and whether you feel comfortable doing a transaction with them. So for me, I think the buying process for silicones is scary, because if it's just randomly on eBay and you don't know who this person is, it is scary. I think eBay is safe, though, for the buyer, because they have a very generous buyer policy that, if you don't get the doll, or the doll's not expected, eBay will refund your money. I think sellers have more often gotten scammed through eBay, because eBay usually will side with the buyer, and there have been just some crazy stories of, like, the baby getting I don't know, I can't, none of this can be really proven, I guess, but crazy things where the buyer claimed that the seller shipped like a manufactured toy doll versus like a real Reborn or a real Silicone, and then the buyer ended up getting their money back, and they probably also had the doll. I mean, I think there was an incident like this. And so just with all the scams out there, just recognize that selling a silicone doll is not very easy, because it is a high price point and not everybody can afford it. But if you can offer layaway, I definitely think you can you're going to have a better chance of attracting a buyer. And then the other thing too is, a lot of, it depends on the sculpt. There's some sculpts that sell for at or even above their original price because that sculpt is just in high demand. Luna by Jenny Lee is a good example. And then there are other sculpts that, don't have the same resale value. And, they're going to need to be discounted. So the price that you list the doll at also factors into how quickly you're able to sell that doll. I've seen some dolls get posted and I was like, oh my gosh, what a phenomenal deal. It's like, I'm not in the market for a doll, but if there are some listings that really made me pause and made me think, okay, maybe I should think about this. This is such a good deal. And then there are others where, the price is just still really high and it's for a secondhand doll, right? So you just have to weigh, kind of what you're willing to pay as a buyer and as a seller, kind of factor in like, there's a, I think the doll that gets marked down like 5 times, I think, rightfully or wrongly, sometimes psychologically the buyer might feel like it's kind of like when you see a house on the market that's been on the market for like months and months, and even though the seller keeps reducing the price, you kind of start to think to yourself, okay, what's wrong with this house? Why hasn't anybody bought it yet? And I think it can be a little bit the same way with dolls that are listed, and maybe the price is just a little too high. So that's that could be part of it. And so anyway, yeah, so I think that, all these things like factor in, but, think about the sculpt, think about how in demand the doll is, and price accordingly, and price something that is fair, that you feel like, and I think it's really hard psychologically for sellers to take a loss on a doll they've had in their collection, but think about it like a rental fee, if that makes sense. So let's say you've had the doll for a year and, you got to enjoy that doll during that time. Think about it like you were able to, like a rental fee, or it was like a foster mom fee or something like that, because you did get some benefit, enjoyment from the doll during the time that you had it in your possession. And so now it's time for the doll to move on to his or her next mommy. And you should just feel really, you shouldn't feel too bad about having to take a little bit of a loss, because just think about that price difference as like your rental fee, of that opportunity that you got a chance to enjoy the doll. Or if it's a doll that's just not getting much attention, what you spent originally on the doll is a sunk cost. You've already spent it, so it doesn't matter. So now all you can do is look forward from today and think like, okay, do I want this doll in my collection? Do I need the money for something else? And so that would be, those are my recommendations. So well-written listing, think about your pricing, think about the reach that you have, with that doll. And in terms of Facebook, some of the doll forums, and, just try to reach as many people as you can. Anyway, nothing too earth-shattering, but I hope this is helpful for some of you out there who are thinking of selling a doll from your collection. And that doesn't even have to be for silicones. It could also, a lot of the things I shared can apply to expensive reborns as well. Oh, and back when I talked about the details of the listing, you should know what kind of EcoFlex silicone it is. So if it's EcoFlex, like Noah is EcoFlex 30. So if it's EcoFlex 30 versus 20, or it's a super soft blend, or like a marshmallow blend, or and also what length, like what is the length of the baby and what is the weight. I think these are all things that like I would want to know, as a buyer. And sometimes as buyers, we, if we see a listing and it doesn't have very many details, and it's not that well written, even if the doll is cute, we'll just pass and just move on. Oh, the other thing is, if you are going to list the doll for sale in a forum, I think a pet peeve of a lot of buyers is, I know it's hard, like to, and I get this too, because I don't always want to like just list the price of a doll that I'm selling, and yeah, it's tough, but I do find that sometimes, at least on Dolphin, you really should list the price. If you're going to list it, you should list the price. Sometimes when it's like we're on YouTube, you know, there's like more sensitivities there, and some of us don't want to share the price just like on a YouTube video, mainly because there are a lot of non-doll people that watch these videos, and some of them would probably be just floored and shocked by how much these babies cost. Anyway, so here's Mr. Noah. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. And I will see you guys all on the next video. Bye-bye.